But if she wasn't as interested in the topic, then she would read it a little faster to try to get it over with. So this artifact helped me as an instructor work towards creating supportive environments that afford students access to rigorous college and career-ready standards because it helped me take multiple approaches to obtaining goals. For this QRI to be carried out, I had to find out information about a student's learning habits, then observe the student's attitude toward the subject, and finally did more formally structured activities with her to have a knowledge-based approach in creating lessons that would help her succeed. As an instructor, I can create larger projects that involve my students using different forms of media or research-based questioning to learn about a topic or answer a question, which will then translate well into college and career level activities that require a myriad of approaches to problem solving over short and long periods of time. This activity also helps me create a process of instruction that allows students to be reflective of their work, abilities, and attitudes towards certain topics. Because college majors and careers are more based on one's strengths and narrower facets, while elementary and secondary school is based on success on a wider spectrum, I can learn how to work with students so they can learn to be aware of which parts of a certain lesson or a certain facet of a subject they exhibit strengths in. Now, in elementary school and in secondary school, you have to do math, you have to do social, English, all that stuff, and while some students they exhibit strength in one subject, they may exhibit weaknesses in another. So finding what students are interested in, finding what their strengths are, helping students be self-reflective on that, teaches them to really kind of narrow in on what it is that they can use their strengths and interests for in rather choosing a college major or choosing a career post high school. The other artifact I used for this section was the final project from C&T 740, Foundations of Reading, Process Theory, and Instruction. This artifact was also comprised of several weeks of development in which we had to create an instructional plan using specific literary principles based on an award-winning multicultural book. With this artifact, I was to create a hypothetical 8th grade student who reads at a 6th grade level and use this book to answer a myriad of questions following certain components of reading. So here's that artifact. I'll essentially just break down the components. The first one was book choice. We had to choose an appropriate book to work with our hypothetical student. I wanted to choose a book that was along the 6th grade reading curriculum but would be interesting to an 8th grader. And I wanted to tie a little bit of familiarity in there so the effort would be within the reading. And this student, hypothetically, is familiar with the movie or other books written by Carl Hayson. This is based on the book Hoot. So that was component 1. Component 2 was based on a theoretical framework or model in which I were to guide my approach to this instruction. I used inquiry-based learning for a student who, might struggle with direct questions and more of like an outputting type answering of questions. Component 3 was reading level. He had a Lexile score of 760. So this book was pretty appropriate for them. Component 4 was vocabulary. I had to choose different vocabulary words from the story and think about how it might help my student. Component 5 is fluency. I had to base my my strategies out of an article. So I chose an article about from the Poetry Academy. Component 6, again, I had to use an article, but for comprehension, and I chose A Picture is Worth 1,000 Words, using visual images to improve comprehension for middle school struggling readers. Component 7 had to deal with writing. So my big thing was having the student pretty much annotate throughout, take anecdotes as we read through the chapters, then summarize the whole book based on those, those anecdotes that he created, those annotations. I have a summary right there. Component 8 was assessment. How would I assess the student? I would use a summative performance-based assessment for an ELA lesson based on any long-standing unit, such as reading a novel, because I would rather have my student brainstorm how to expand the information they obtain rather than remember certain facets of it. This is a student who, isn't reading as well as his peers, but is somebody who can, read and make connections with a text. And component 9 dealt with related readings. The central theme of Hoot was that nobody's ever too young or too small to stand up for a cause they believe in. And a related reading was, if you ever hear the story of Malala, it's Malala, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban when she was a young teenager. She really did a lot for the female community and getting girls proper education. So that was my works cited list, got my research. That was the second artifact for CAEP 1.4, and this artifact showcases my ability to create a learning environment that affords access to rigorous college and career-ready standards because, again, this assignment was cultivated over a long period of time, so my student gets good experiences working to achieve a long-term goal. This assignment is different from my first artifact in Area 1, however, because the skills my student learns in this course of assignments helps him observe situations in depth and analyze character intentions in a story. These skills help a student transition into post-high school endeavors because a student who is strong in these skills can analyze real-life situations and mediate between people by identifying their characteristics and use critical thinking skills to work towards problem solving. So I hope you like my presentation. As a professional, my next steps will be to keep developing my curriculum. Like I said, I'm a first-year teacher, so this has been kind of really, working on the fly, learning what works, what doesn't work. So I'm going to be able to go back and strengthen stuff I've already made and also develop stuff based on results from past lessons and past experiences. This program has helped me really be self-reflective in my research and in my curriculum developing. Before I, wouldn't have been able to be reflective from multiple approaches, but this program has really helped me think about, how I can reach out to English language learners or how I can use my own research and how I can develop research to build a stronger curriculum. So thank you for that. Rock chalk. I'm out.